Hey, good morning, YouTube. Deckard here from Attention Deficit Deckard. This is going to be my third Lost in the Vlog video, and I thought I'd maybe explore a little about my life situation. So I don't know if any of you guys knew, but going on 2 months ago, I was recently let go from my job of 20 years, which is one of the reasons I'm here on the YouTubes so aggressively these days. And I thought I would share the 3 most important things I learned on the job over the course of 20 years. After almost 20 years, I'll just say 20 because it's easier. I mean, it's over 19. Oh, if it's over 19 years, do you have to say 19? Do you have to say 19 plus? Do you get to say 20? I think you should be able to get to say 20. Now, I'm a pretty specific job, so some of these learnings may not apply to everybody, but hopefully the concepts are relatively translatable, fluid, maybe, if you will. All right, so I was a project manager at a tier 1 marketing copy agency. Yeah, it sounds all glamorous. It was sometimes for me, but I was more of a behind the scenes as a project manager. I was responsible for managing projects in the nomenclature division of the company. Nomenclature, a system of names used in an art or science. So that means for, major national and global brands, they would employ us to come up with various marketing text to help sell or promote their product. And the nomenclature division that I was a part of, we were responsible for setting up I don't know how to describe it exactly, the structure, if you will, of how to come up with and name things like colors, and not just paint colors, coatings in general, but any kind of color name. So you might think, well, what, red and blue? Yeah, we didn't come up with those. But if you ever go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot and you go to the paint department, you start looking at those color chips. I know now it's starting to ring a bell, right? Things like off-white. What's off-white, really? Well, I would manage projects whereby my team and I would come up with strategies and structures to connect seemingly random adjectives with seemingly random nouns in a way that would reflect as accurately as possible, but more importantly, as attention-grabbing as possible for different colors. So instead of that being off blue, it might be starlight blue, or something a little more abstract, dusking rose, or friendly peach, right? I'm just spitballing here, but I've got NDA, so I can't give up any of the names that were in progress a few months ago that I was working on before I was let go. Position was terminated, nothing I did wrong. I came up with some pretty good ones. But anyway, that structure of how you come up with friendly peach, right? Your average mind isn't gonna necessarily go there, right? Neither would mine. And I work in the field, but with my nomenclature structure set up, it's a lot easier. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get into the three most important things I learned in 20 years on the job at my 9 to 5. First thing I learned, first takeaway, most important takeaway from like a 30,000 foot view of employment, really. Number one. Number two takeaway. This is my favorite one. Well, number three is also a favorite. Number one's just the truth. I don't like it any more than you do. Number two, let me set this up a little bit. You need to prioritize making your work life as easy as possible for yourself.
Right? Which, I mean, instinctual for someone with double ADHD. I mean, you don't have to tell me to do that. But I'm trying to teach you guys.
That's your number 4 priority. And then this is me setting this up. After fulfilling your number 1 responsibilities to your employer. Number 2, fulfilling your responsibilities to your client. And number 2A, really, is fulfilling your responsibilities to your colleagues. The 4th responsibility you have is to yourself. And that needs to manifest as in making your life as easy as possible. This can be boiled down to 2 things for a project manager in the nomenclature division of a tier 1 marketing copy agency. I expect this translates fairly well. Number 1, organize, organize, organize. In order to make your life as easy as possible for yourself on the job, you need to be organized. You need to be able to find information on those projects at the drop of a dime. And you need to do all that stuff in an organized fashion so that you don't have to remember it up here. Because I don't know about you, but as a double ADHD disordered, I struggle with remembering things. So I set up a system of organization where I didn't have to remember a thing. I had to remember my organizational system, but like that's one memory instead of, yeah, Deckard, that project, gloaming cerulean. Remember the gloaming cerulean project from 2019? Remember who we sent those final files to? I do not, Mr. Man, I do not remember. How can you ask me to remember? But hold my beer, give me 30 seconds, and I will tell you. And I can do that. I could go home right now. I could log into my computer, go into those files, find you that answer, Mr. Man. Those files were delivered to XYZ company on ABC date. Gloaming cerulean. What else you got? Organization will make your life so much easier. The other key factor here, the other number 1, kindness. What do you mean by kindness? I mean by this. There's a lot of information you need to run a project. Gloaming cerulean had a lot of moving parts. Gloaming cerulean is an AKA, by the way. Again, I'm on an NDA, so I can't give you the real name of that color. It was brilliant. No, it wasn't mine. This is my point. I had some brilliant colleagues. You got to work with other people. And being kind to your colleagues, to your clients, to your co-vendors, I can't tell you how far that gets you. You need something quick from a co-vendor that doesn't like you because every time they reach out, you're like, oh, Bonnie, oh my gosh. Maybe you don't take Bonnie's call all the time. Maybe you get a little short because Bonnie's so overwrought. Well, the next time you need something from Bonnie, maybe she remembers, hey, Deckard's not that nice to me. Maybe I'll go take my lunch now. I'll get back to him later. And now you're holding the bag on gloaming cerulean. We got deadlines to meet. I need that information. Now, if me and Bonnie are, at least from a work sense.
I have strong professional, social professional. It's like paraprofessional
skill. Hey Bonnie, how you doing? Yeah, the weather's crazy up here in the north. How you doing down there in the south? Yeah, excellent. Looking forward to the holidays? That's outstanding. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. Hey, listen, you know, hate to bother you on such short notice, but I'm working on gloaming cerulean, as you're aware. Yeah, I know, we're getting files over as quickly as we can, and that's why I'm calling. Do you think you could let me know when your print date is, so I can recalibrate my timeline, my timing? Excellent. Thanks, Bonnie. I'll look for that email in the next half hour. Appreciate you. All right. That kind of thing, oh my goodness. You be like that with everybody, one way or another. I'm not a great schmoozer, but I've got some skill. And you get people who don't dislike you. They don't really have to like you, but if you've got at least a facade, a veneer of friendliness and professional courtesy, you know how much easier you just made your life?
And drama-free. Oh, crucial.
Oh my goodness. Bonnie may or may not be all that. I'll tell you what I do care about: getting that information for gloaming cerulean so that I can move on to the next thing on my list today. Because I'm all about making my life as easy as possible. I want to get through this 8-hour day as seamlessly, effortlessly, and professionally as possible. But then, all that consideration considered, what's the best way for me to get to the end of my 5 o'clock as painlessly as possible? Organization, professional courtesy, kindness. So take it from me, if you don't already know this, some of you veterans out there already know this. You know, you're just watching to see what kind of fool I might make of myself. Fair enough. That's what this channel's halfway all about. 100% of the time, 50% of the time. 50% of 100% of the time. What is that saying? Anyway, number three, the third most important thing I took away after 20 years in the biz. What is it? Here we go. Never, not ever, never take your work home with you. Ever. Especially ever. But most especially as your head's on that pillow and you're going to sleep at night. Your company's not paying you for these hours of your rumination over tomorrow's meeting or next week's review or next month's project due date. Nah. That's what 9 to 5 is for. 5 o'clock, or whenever you shut down that computer and you leave work in the computer, you allow the peace of your free time, of your non-work time. You let that suffuse your being and you go about your evening. What are you going to do when your head's on the pillow about that thing you're thinking about? When your head's on the pillow, what are you going to do about it? I mean, if you have to, get up and go write it down and then deal with it tomorrow. Think about what you're thinking about while you're trying to fall asleep at night and you're thinking about work. What are you thinking about? Is there anything that can be done right now about that? Of course not. So, are you going to remember any of this stuff tomorrow when you're walking into that meeting? Oh man, that 12:30 insight I had when my head was on the pillows, I was about to fall asleep. Thank God I thought about that then, because 12 hours later, as I'm going into this lunch meeting, I remembered I just saved my own life. Does that ever happen? You know, none of this stuff that you're thinking about matters, except for in one sense. It matters because it's stealing your life. You think you're preparing to make your life easier tomorrow. This is the mistake we all have to go through. This is my first mistake that I had to learn through when I decided to commit to making my life easier for myself. But I do not, no longer take that MO, if you will, that operational theory does not apply to bedtime. You're not making your life easier for yourself tomorrow when you're in bed thinking about this stuff. You're not. And if you were to analyze those thoughts, you would come to that realization yourself. So let me save you some time by saying never, ever, especially never bring your work home with you. Never bring your work home with you. They're not paying you for that time. It's not actually making your life easier. If on those rare occasions something relevant does, and you'll know the relevance versus the ruminants. Absolutely you do. And if something relevant does pop into your head, get out of bed and go write it down. Do not open up that computer and send an email. I mean, if it's 12:30 and you just remembered an email that you should have sent yesterday at 4:30, I'll tell you another. Here's a side bonus. Don't send that email at 12:30. It just makes you look bad. Just go back to bed. So anyway, yeah, don't take your work home with you. It's not that important. If it is, you better be the CEO, in which case this video is not for you. We'll see if this resonates with any of you out there. I'm gonna get back to it on the job. All right, YouTube, you have yourself a day.
Coop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? This is, you know, which is really this is under that rubric.
All right.
Coop.